Hey everybody, thank you for sticking around. This is New Release Rundown. We're joined by Ethan from Zulu's Board Game Cafe. He has brought a bunch of games, but before we get into that, is there anything that you want to say about yourself or about Zulu's before we dive into a game?
Yeah, if you haven't seen me on here before, come down to Zulu's in Bothell. We got tons of board games to play, free board games to buy. We do Magic, D&D. We've recently started up we're working on like a D&D summer camp sort of thing, so if you have a kid who's, I think it's 16 and under, you can get signed up for that. That's pretty great. And then we have Emerald City Comicon coming up in right around a month here. It starts the 12th of March through the 15th. Gonna have a giant booth there. We have a number of publishers working in our booth, and we have our own demo team, so we'll be selling games and running demos. I believe the guys from Clask are gonna have a presence there in our booth doing like fun tournaments. If you've never played Clask or seen Clask, I highly recommend you check it out. It's like the most fun skill game out there right now that you can just play on your tabletop.
Cool.
Air hockey, too big for house. Clask, perfect.
All right. Great. Yeah. So I think you wanted to kick off Undaunted, right?
Yeah. Undaunted Normandy.
I heard really good stuff about this.
It actually came out a couple months ago, but I only found out about a month ago.
Yeah, I just Shut Up and Sit Down had a glowing review of it.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I haven't actually gotten to play it yet, but I've gotten to thumb through the rules and watched some reviews about the video.
Great.
And one thing I thought was really cool is the designer David Thompson. He actually based a lot of the characters, especially like the main American platoon commander, off his grandfather and his grandfather's platoon. So I'm pretty sure all the guys, even though they're like these interesting cartoony kind of art that I really like because it's not super serious, they're based on real people.
Yeah, I mean they all have names.
They all have names.
They all have positions.
Yeah.
I think it was described as this is the deck building game where when the cards die or characters die, it is a specific person that you are sad to see go.
Yeah. So you actually have like these tokens that will go out there, and they represent, like this will represent your mortar squad, and as you lose units, you're pulling cards out of your deck, and the unit doesn't go away until you have no more of them. But you are buying things like I need more snipers, I need whatever, and it's one-on-one, so two-player co-op tactical board game. The same.
Competitive.
Did I say co-op? Sorry, I meant competitive. Same word, right?
What?
The guy who made this actually did. David Thompson actually did War Chest as well, which is head-to-head strategy, chess-like sort of thing. So tactical. You're playing a platoon commander for either the United States or Germany, if you want to be the Germans, and then. Yeah, you're building your deck as you go. You need riflemen, which are in here, to capture points. So there's actually 12 scenarios in the game.
Yep.
And each one will have a different asymmetrical objectives for each side.
Yep.
But the riflemen are key for capturing these points. If you run out of riflemen, then you're pinned down.
So this is like a tactical like board, move around a board, move around a map, like control objective game that is driven by a deck building engine.
Yeah. It kind of has this almost like an RTS feel to me, where you're putting units out on the board, but then you have the cards to represent them
and the cards are how you give orders to them and move them, and it's also kind of their hit points.
Yes. Because as you're losing guys, you're losing cards, and so you run out of cards, that unit's gone. It's kind of representing the squad. If you ever played a game like Company of Heroes, it kind of reminded me of that, thinking this is that game. Now you're not like building buildings and stuff like that, as far as I know, but you do have access to a lot of units.
But you move your units around the map. You take fire against other units, which means you have to roll dice to see if they get hit. So it feels to me like there's no miniatures, but it's very much like a tactical kind of map control game,
right?
Straight up mashed up with apparently a very, very good deck building.
And if you are into miniatures and you already have a lot of miniatures, you could easily replace the tokens with miniatures if you want that, or green army men. It's got all these tiles that you can use to have new battlefields. They're double-sided, so there's a lot going on. I'm sure you could even create your own scenarios.
And I think what there's the rule book.
Yes.
And then there's a whole different scenario book.
Yes.
And I think there's actual a campaign that you can play too that will have a continuing story and whatnot. Yeah. So
like one of those longer style board games like Descent, where you have you run through a whole series of battles basically. and see what happens.
Our usual questions. Spite level for this game. I mean, this is a competitive game, but it doesn't seem like it's very like tradery or tricksy.
No, I mean, it's head-to-head combat, so I think the only way you're going to be spiteful is obviously if you lose, but if you're playing the campaign and one guy's kicking your butt the whole time, like, great, we got 10 more missions.
Sure. But there's not a lot of, twisting of people's things back on them other than shooting their units off the board.
I mean, if you're going to play a game that's combat heavy, you should be expecting that. Mm-hmm. That's like getting into Warhammer and being mad when you lose a unit or something like that. Like, it's going to happen.
So then,
it's war. It's brutal.
Then this is also a game of...
Very good storage box, too, by the way.
So this is great for World War II buffs.
Yes.
It's great for people who want to try kind of a tactical combat game.
Yeah, you want like a 2-player lighter. Lighter than some of the heavier World War II games out there. I mean, you can see the art's a little bit lighter. It's not as realistic, but it still has a realistic feel. And the game's only like $40. It's not... And also, I've seen a lot of those games, they're like $60, $80 at least.
And also recommended for deck building fans.
Yes.
Okay.
Deck building with a bit of a twist. The other thing in there that some deck building games have, they have what they call Fog of War.
Yep.
And those are cards that you can get that basically go in your deck, and they're dead cards, and you don't want them. But that's their way of doing that.
Great. Awesome. I'm very excited about this. Shut Up and Sit Down had a review that went into detail. I really want to try it.
Yeah, one more thing that's really neat about it, just in gameplay, each player will draw 4 cards on their turn.
Yep.
And then each of those cards will have an initiative value on them. And the initiative value, generally the better card will have a higher initiative. So to determine who gets to go first, by going first, you got to do all your actions. You have to play one of those cards down for its initiative, and then that card's gone.
Yeah.
So do you pick your best card and try to win it? And you lose it if you lose, so you don't get it back. So maybe they play a 7, or you play a 7, they play an 8, and you're like, dang, I lost my 7. Or do you just play a low card and say, I'll go second, but I'm going to keep my better card? So I really like that way of doing it.
There definitely seems a risk-reward kind of element.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's Undaunted
So it looks like Set a Watch won the poll.
Okay.
Which I probably should have told people about.
Oh,
but
the
it
poll?
seems like they figured it out. All right. So Set a Watch.
Yeah.
I see a rule book. I see some cards. I see some dice. You want to tell us about it?
That's it. You got it.
There's a little, like the board is part of the lid, it looks like.
The board is the box. The whole thing is the board, which I think is pretty cool. It's got the cool magnetic, like, it's super compact, which I like. It's only about a $30 game. There's apparently an issue with getting the thing. Oh, those are drawn. Yeah, that needs to come out.
I'm trying.
Those are just the characters. Useless. Let's see. So this is a 2 to 4 player co-op game that's in the kind of not distracting at all.
All right, there's characters in here.
We may have found a flaw. I don't know.
You can see them. I think if they were not in the plastic sleeve, they would
I don't know what the deal is there.
All right.
So, cool thing. Let's pop these open. So even if you're playing 2 players, you'll still play 4 characters, and there's 6 to choose from.
Okay.
And you're trying to. The story is basically you just defeated the hallowed. Jeez, words. You just defeated that guy, and now there's a bunch of these acolytes or something trying to resummon them.
Okay.
So you got to go through I think it's 9 waves of survival.
Okay.
It's kind of that wave survival game, and defeat them. So you have 2 kinds of cards here. You have locations, which are just the places you're going to go. I don't know if you can show people those. And then a big old deck of monsters, which is called the Horde.
I like Ancient Crypts. That's cool.
Yeah, so that might be a place you have to go. You'll draw it from the map deck.
Forgotten Graveyard.
And I believe the decks actually can sit in here, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
And then here's some monsters. The monsters will get lined up at the camp, sort of thing like this. Hopefully this stays down in your
it won't.
game.
It's fine.
But, whatever. Anyway,
So it's a very clever map.
what happens on a round is 3 of the characters will go fight the Horde, the minions out here. They'll get flipped over. They'll see what's going on. And then 1 person has to stay back at camp to keep the fire going and do a couple things there.
Sure.
So each have options. And then each player has their own dice. You can see half of them are 6-siders and half of them are 8-sided. So these characters actually have stronger abilities, or these are more support, I believe. Like I think there's like a dwarf cleric or something like that. So these characters are never going to get an 8 where they have more options. And then each character has their own ability and stuff like that. What they can do something special at the camp. And yeah, you just don't want to die.
Sure.
So what I think is cool about this game is there's already like an end guy thing going on, your horde, and the guy you just killed or whatever. And then as you go, you're trying to fight these people. So the melee fighters can only hit the first monster in front, where ranged guys can hit the second one, and they can also support each other and stuff. But you're either using your dice to hurt the monsters, or each character will randomly get these abilities. Each character has a set of abilities.
Are those at the beginning of the game?
These are the beginning of the game, yeah. So
it's kind of how you make your character almost, maybe?
If we have the ranger, yeah, so there's only 5 here, right?
Okay.
And you randomly pick 3. So we got the first 3. We got Farsight, so you can have more range, long shot. You can defeat an unrevealed creature card, so maybe something way down there and kill it before it even gets there. Or elf sense. So on my turn as this elf, I can use one of my abilities. I basically go through my dice, see what I rolled, and use them. I think you just discard a die to use any ability, so that's why you use your ones and stuff.
Sure.
Or higher dice to do combat and stuff like that. So you're killing guys, whatever, you kill some guys, and then say there's one left that no one killed, it's going to hit you, hit your characters or whatever, do damage to you, and then it actually goes into the box and it goes into the horde. Now each wave, they can pile up whatever. You're going to fight probably more than 3 guys.
Yep.
But you're going to go through, it's going to get harder, and then the end game is you have to fight everything that made it through to the box. So it's not like, okay, we got damaged, cool, we're alive. It's, we got damaged, and now the end game is going to be harder. So I think that's a pretty cool mechanic. You may make it there and then just get destroyed at the very end. And then the other guy at the camp, you're like, oh, we left the dwarf behind, he's slow. So he has to do stuff like chop firewood, scout ahead, which lets him see like creatures and scribe, basically, if you've played Magic. Check your map, which is kind of where you can manipulate the location you go to. You can actually heal, which is pretty difficult to do. And there's like all these other, actions for each character, like doing runes and stuff like that.
Sure.
I'm not going to explain it all, but if you want to play a fun co-op game that you're all working together and you like that kind of wave style, gets harder every
Seems
round.
like tower defense-y.
It's a little tower defense-y, except you're not really building. There's no towers.
Sure,
You have your characters, and you have to decide, because one person has to stay at camp every time, and the other 3 have to go and watch. And so, if you want games to play with like you and your wife, or you and your buddy, or whatever it is, and it can play up to 4 players, but you can also just both play 2 players.
Sure.
Or you can even just play it by yourself.
Sure.
So it's got a lot of options in that regard.
Okay.
I'd love to show you the characters if we could get them out of here.
Well, maybe I was trying to be nice and not bend anything.
I mean, it's just a demo.
Hey, I ain't gonna bend it. If you want to, that's up to you.
Ah.
There we go.
That's true.
Oh,
We
there
don't
goes
need
the
that.
fire. All right, I'll be right back.
It's just a fire. Oh my gosh, now you have to get a package open?
No, you gotta tend the fire. You just told me how important it was to keep somebody at camp to tend the fire.
You do have to tend the fire. You don't want the fire to go out. It makes things get harder. So you got Ranger, Beastmaster, which is clearly the one I would pick. Beastmaster's awesome. The Warrior, a Dwarf, the Rogue, a Wizard. You're a wizard, Harry, and a Cleric. So
do you only get to pick, can you do all these characters, or is it 4 players?
you have to pick 4 of them.
Okay, so it's an adventuring party of 4 from this list.
Yep.
And then you basically kind of play, a wave tower defense game to make sure that they don't get through to the big bad guy.
And then you can see here, like I said, this is the horde pile, and this is the unused locations. So the box is the board. The only thing that doesn't really go on the board is the line of minions. So it's kind of a long game, as opposed, not in time, but in space, as opposed to like massive table taken up. And I guess the rest of the table's taken up by your character sheets and stuff. So pretty easy. I mean, I don't know if anyone has any questions about it, but
Nope. So are you putting this back in the plastic before we put them back in here?
no, I already chucked the plastic.
Great. All right.
That seemed to be the reason that we couldn't get them out.
Yeah, it was.
Forget that. And it comes with bags. One thing I'm really digging about games these days is they're coming with baggies.
Yep. Come on with
you
their
don't
own
have to get
pre-built
your own.
bags. Yeah, this is a very neat game.
I like how compact it is too. It's
More monsters
very
for you.
affordable. I think it has about a $30 retail. You got good quality cards in there and everything.
Yep. The design is very slick. The box design is really neat. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, this is a game. Sometimes I don't buy all these games for the store. I just buy them to show off on the show. And this one I actually got for the store because I was like, this sounds really fun to me.
Sure.
And I think it'd be a good demo. So now I have a demo in my store if you want to come try it out.
Great. All right. What are we doing next?
Whoops. Bag.
Great.
Are we picking this time or do they pick?
I believe that we are picking, and then we will probably set up another poll. So if people are watching and they want to see which one of these games to cover next, they can vote. But until then, you have the power, and you get to make the selection.
I have the power. That's what I've wanted my whole life.
I'm happy to help you fulfill the dream.
No He-Man stuff today. All right. Let's do that Master of the Renaissance.
I think that you have other elements over there you're going to add to this.
I do have some elements. Now, apparently this is the card game version of Lorenzo
Lamas?
Magnifico. Words. I don't know, man. I've never played the original.
Lorenzo Il Magnifico.
Yeah, that guy. And
I think that's a game.
it is a game, yes. So this is they call this the card game version.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see a lot of boards.
Still feels like a board game.
Okay.
Because there's a ton
All
of
right,
boards.
we'll give it to them.
So apparently this is a little smaller. Does it need to exist? I don't know, but whatever. This is a game I probably would have never realized if I weren't looking for some new releases.
Okay.
And now that I've actually read about it and gone through the instructions and learned how to play it a bit, it actually sounds really fun.
Oh, okay. How does it work?
So everyone's going to have their player board, right?
Yep.
And think if you've played a game like maybe Splendor. What else is on there? Let me check my notes. I don't know. Hold it up. Everybody, put it on pause. Put the thing on pause.
That's not how Twitch works,
That's
man.
not how this works?
Not
Oh,
how
sorry.
Twitch works.
My bad. I took a lot of notes, and I wrote them, so they're hard to read.
Cool. Can I introduce you to a thing called a computer with a keyboard? It might help you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's whatever.
We'll
It's
come back
similar
to it
to
later.
Splendor.
That's fine.
Screw notes.
Yep.
It's similar to Splendor.
Okay.
In the way that you have, let's see,
Kind of doing
these
some engine
cards
building
are-
elements.
Yeah, so you have your market where you have these. You have level 1 buildings,
Sure.
level 2, level 3.
Sure.
And you're buying them. They're worth victory points. The level 1s are only worth 1.
Yep.
Garbage. Level 2s are worth 5. And then I think the top are up to like 10 to 13 or something like that.
Okay.
And then they are spend a resource, get a reward. So all these down here, like your goal is to get to the end of this faith track. You have your little faith marker.
Sure.
And then what's kind of neat is you'll get at the start of the game, you'll get these little, I think they're called like Pope tokens or something like that. So when you reach the end where it has the faith symbol, the little Pope hat symbol,
You collect a Pope hat.
you collect the Pope hat.
Okay.
But what's kind of neat is everyone else will also collect the Pope hat if
Okay.
they're in the outlined area. If they're not, they just discard it and they lose it.
Okay.
So you need to keep up. You
But
can't
so if let's say that you, let's say that yeah, I mean I'm thinking about it. What if I am here while you get to here? Do I get my
Nope.
Pope hat from this
It has
one?
to be in
The same one as
the
yours.
same
Okay.
one, and they have it. The iconography is pretty good on this. You know, and you can see you get rewards as you go. You get points and stuff or money or whatever.
Sure.
And then, yeah, so they completely lose that if they're not there. So you
Okay.
you do need, it stresses characters to keep up with each other and not
Sure.
go too slow.
Sure.
Trying to build some ultimate things. So if the speed is dependent on how people want to play.
Sure.
If you're all playing slow, then I guess you can. But I think that's pretty cool. And then it has these cool trays. So this marble system is kind of the coolest thing in the game.
Okay.
As far as gimmicky.
All right.
There is a little board right here. Nope. Where's that little board? Was it this guy?
Isn't it this?
Oh, it's this.
Yeah.
It's the outside.
Yeah. So do you put
Sure,
this?
Bob.
You put that on top of it?
Yeah, so that's like in there.
Okay.
Yay. Now, on this board, you can see the resources that match the marbles. So if you want a resource, you pick either a row or a column. Now, you notice if you pick a column, you're only getting 3. But see, this row here is like white or nothing. You don't get anything. Where the red, which is only 1, that moves you up the Pope track 1. And then, or the faith track. And then purple and blue and yellow give you resources like gold and stuff like that.
Sure.
Oh, and gray and stone. Now what's cool, so say I pick this bottom track, I get 1 blue, 2 purple, and nothing. And then I take this one that's on the outside and I have to put it somewhere.
Okay.
So now the resource track continuously updates. Or I can
So like when I say, hey, I'm going to take this, yellow or gold, purple, white, purple. I don't take them off the track.
No.
I take this.
You take
and
the
then
tokens.
Do I have to put it in so if I took the row?
I think you
push
can put it
here?
wherever you want.
Okay.
From what I understand, I could have read that wrong, so don't quote me on that. But I think you get to put it wherever you want, so you can block someone. Like I don't want this guy to get gold. Boom.
Great.
So now he has to pick this or that if he wants gold.
Sure.
And then it actually comes, like a lot of people are using board game bowls. It actually comes with its own little tray to hold the resources, and I think that's pretty cool.
Great.
And then bags to put them in, because if you put it in the box, they'll just fall everywhere.
Yeah.
Anything else about this game? Let's
But
see.
it basically seems like a pretty traditional Euro game, but with this kind of tactile element of pushing the marbles around to change the way resources are
Exactly,
generated.
and I would say, like I mentioned Splendor, because I think if that's a game you've played and you're like, okay, I'm pretty good at this game, I think I'm ready for the
I
next
want the heavy
step.
Euro version.
This
of
might be the next step for you. It's adding a few more elements, and then like Splendor, and I use Splendor because a lot of people played it. Has the nobles, where you get those. So this kind of has a similar thing where you can get these guys called leaders, based on having the right buildings, and then they actually give you a reward. So now if you have this guy, he's worth 5 points, and he makes white equal a gold. So now the white actually have a value, and that basically just helps.
Yeah, that certainly changes the economy.
The only other thing on this game to go over right now, so like it actually has a board to put your buildings at, and then it has a storage here where you can store as you buy your resources, you have to store them. You can't just have a bunch. There's not a lot here.
Sure.
So you can only store 1 resource here, 2 here, and 3 here.
Okay.
And they have to be the same.
Okay.
So if you got 2 blues, you have to make a choice. Do I put it in the 2 or the 3? Probably the 2. But then,
But that means that you're not going to be.
But then later, when you're using resources to get rewards, they actually go in the chest. So you can, when you're turning in something to get a reward, so they don't take up space.
Cool.
But very cool game.
Great. So yeah, I mean, it seems like a very traditional Euro game, resource management kind of thing. So fans of Euro games,
Has that style of
fans
art.
of marbles,
Fans of marbles, yeah.
but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of spite in this game, a lot of player interaction.
You're basically doing your own thing. The only way you're messing with people is if you're drafting or buying. It's got a marketplace, so if you're grabbing something they want, or you're going on the Pope track faster than they are, and I didn't get the reward.
Cool.
And the rewards can be random
that's a little
too.
bit more interaction than a lot of Euro games get.
A little bit.
So
I'll make it later.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Give me
we'll
that.
do it
Okay. So,
the show.
like fans of Euro games, people who want maybe another step up from Splendor or something like that. Anybody else that you'd recommend this for?
People who are fans of that Renaissance art style, I think, would be into it.
They're probably into Euro games already.
They probably are. I mean, a lot of Euro games do use that style.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want something a little lighter, but like not super light, but like a weight 2-ish out of 5. Yeah.
All right. So it looks like Posthuman
Perfect.
is the next one. Although, again, I have to say that I misread this as Postman. And I was really excited that we were going to get like some sort of Kickstarter board game miniature thing of like the traveling across the wasteland trying to rebuild society by delivering the mail. So, Simon, get on that. It's going to do millions.
Yeah. We got to get that mail. And there's no horses or cars.
All right, this is gonna become a thing very quickly.
So this is one of the bigger games I brought. So we're definitely gonna need some space.
Well, I think we put that there so they can get it on
I
camera.
wanted you to get it.
We're gonna.
All right.
So we got rule books in here, and rule books, and stickers. No, sheets. And
Sheets,
then
yeah. There's a
trillion
components.
We heard you like counters.
So
we. Hey. See, they knew this was going to be difficult. You didn't. So the little divot here.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
Isn't that
like
cool?
they knew it was going to get hard to get this out of the box, so
Yeah.
they gave you a little divot.
I was like, how has no one ever done this before?
Listen, set a watch. Take notes.
Man, lots going on in this
I'm
game.
getting Formula D flashbacks
Oh, yeah.
with this little board here. So tell us about Postman Saga.
So if you've ever
Or Posthuman.
played, the closest I'd put this to is Fallout, the board game.
Okay.
Not a direct, there's a lot of differences in it, absolutely. But that's the closest thing it felt like.
Okay.
Where you have your guy, you're part of some society trying to rebuild.
Is
You're
it
like
competitive?
It is competitive.
Okay.
But you're all going out in the same thing. It's actually very competitive. I believe you all work for the same kind of
There are a lot of cards.
corporation or whatever, the society that's trying to rebuild, but you're all sent out as like a scavenger trying to, bring back good news to your civilization.
Like the mail.
You're trying to find mail. You're trying to deliver and
Probably
take
not.
mail. No. Everyone has this little board, which also kind of reminds me of Fallout, but that's to track your own stats and your hit points and all that stuff.
And it looks like there's these little pegs that you put in the.
Yes,
If you
exactly.
hold up one of the boards,
Here.
it's got like holes in it,
Yes.
and the pegs are what you're going to put down to track where your health, your morale, your fatigue, and stuff
Exactly.
like that
Now, there's a lot going on in this game, so if I miss something or I say something wrong,
are. Okay.
totally my bad. Come to Zulus and tell me. Let's start with. Okay, so the idea, there's all these tiles, right?
Yep.
And there's actually an auction system that, there's actually a big piece of cardboard that makes like they call it the fortress. And there's an auction system where all these tiles go, and you do an auction mini game thing to determine what tiles you get. And when you explore, I think you actually get to pick the tiles you want to place down.
Sure.
So it's not random, other than what you have.
Okay.
And there's all different kinds of places, rubble and forests and wastelands and stuff like that. All the standard stuff in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yep.
And then,
Like this rhino guy I just found.
yeah, so you got you get a cool rhino mutant. So there's all these mutated people. If you've ever played the game Wasteland, which Fallout's kind of based on too, it's a lot more like that with like a lot of mutated people,
Sure.
Borderlands style kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And
Meat bicycles, all that.
yeah, like gross, cool stuff, radiation, mutated people. And so you will have to encounter these people as you go and fight them. And the fighting system's pretty cool. If we have the cards.
Well, there's a bunch of cards.
Are they
Is
the
it
little
these
ones?
ones?
I think it's the little ones.
There's a bunch of little cards.
Yeah, boom.
The little cards all hide underneath the big cards.
So
cards on cards on cards on cards.
So you'll have a deck, right?
Yep.
Let's say this. We got this lady here. And she got a lot of cards. Okay. No, we don't need this. Sorry. So the red cards are her combat deck.
Okay.
Now, when you get into combat, you have all these cards to pick from, right? So you get to pick one of them, and you have a blue and a red, and the blue I believe is melee, and the red is ranged. So you actually do both combats. You'll start with a ranged, or I'm sorry, I did it the other way. It's ranged and then red is melee. So you'll start with a ranged combat, and then you do a melee combat in every phase, or in every turn of combat.
Okay.
And what you get to do is you get to pick one of them. I want to use this card. Awesome. This is my favorite card. And then you randomly pick another one.
Okay.
And that will be important. So now that's really good. So I'm going to do 5 shots on the enemy, but then in melee I'm doing nothing.
Okay.
So, good and bad. And then I will actually discard the card that I picked, and the other one gets to go back into my pile.
Okay.
Now, why that's important is because it's kind of a way to show your character's fatigue as you go on and you're doing more combat. You're getting tired, and you're running out of
fewer
options.
options. Yeah.
So you might have something that really sucks. It's just there's misses in here and stuff like that, and stuff you don't want. Critical shot. Like I got rid of a miss, but whatever. So as you go and you're getting more in there, eventually you're gonna have to rest because you don't have a lot of options left, and then you get to refresh it.
Okay.
Which
Reminds
I
me of
think
like
is
Century
really
Spice
cool.
Road kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Where you take your hand, you just have less options, and I think that's a pretty cool way to do it, to do your combat. And then I think that the dice are for the enemies.
Dice up. Oh
There they
boy.
are. So I believe that's how the enemies fight you. I don't think unless I read it wrong, I don't think you use the dice.
Okay.
For combat. So you have the auction system, you have combat, you have tile placement, and then the tiles will actually give you rewards. They'll have symbols on them, and that's what all these little tokens are for. You'll also acquire these tokens, and you're trying to get these tokens on the tile. So this one says it wants like an oil barrel or something, so you want to get to that spot.
So it's kind of like so you're exploring, gathering resources to then deliver those resources to particular tiles.
Kind of. So because I don't know where they are, but there's like these little quests that you do.
There are a lot of cards.
And you want to make these chains in a certain order. So you actually get, I know there's a trillion cards, and I don't know where they are or what size they are.
That's fine.
But
I mean, just like generally knowing what we're doing. So we're fulfilling quests. So it sounds like we're
Here's one.
Sounds like we're kind of doing pickup and delivery almost.
So you have an objective here. It's solo, right? It's like get make a chain, so it has to be in order, a potion thing and a gear.
Okay.
And then you'll get to pick one of these rewards. And you can do all these things, I believe.
Okay.
So everyone will have different missions. And then there's a ton of narratives on there, like in narrative events, where there's actually a book right here. If you've ever played a game like, what's that? Well, Fallout uses it, This War of Mine, things like that, where events happen, Discover Lands Unknown, where hey, you went here, okay, let's go to this page and see what happens. So a little bit more adventure and story, and then you may have a choice. I believe other characters are also involved in that choice, and they can go do that or something like that. So there is, I don't want to say cooperation, but there is interactivity with your other characters.
Sure.
The one thing I don't know is I don't think you can attack each other.
Okay.
But I'm not completely clear on that.
Okay.
Is a pretty heavy game. Apparently, there is a previous version out in like 2014 called Posthuman. And
I remember seeing that on Kickstarter.
But this is more campaign and saga. They call it the saga because there's just more going on, I guess.
That makes sense.
So it actually sounded pretty cool to me, but I think it's going to be one of those games that's going to be the better half of your day, is what it sounded like.
Yeah,
but then,
I think you take your time,
but then they
learn
were
it,
saying,
and then kind of enjoy the story.
Yeah, but then they were saying once you get it, it's actually not as long as you'd think. So,
but there are lots of components.
And I'm not sure what this game runs. Probably in the $80 to $100 range.
Sure.
I actually didn't even look, but it's certainly worth it. Oh my gosh, you get so much stuff. So if you're in a post-apocalyptic, another super cool thing that I almost forgot. There's all these mutants in the wasteland, right?
Yep.
And they're all irradiated
as they are,
as where they live, right? If you're a mutant, you live in the wasteland. Doing damage to you, and you can see on the cover here, which is what reminded me. You can see if you look at his arm, it's kind of getting mutated and getting like claws. You actually mutate as the game goes on by taking damage.
Cool.
And there's cards that give you mutations. And I think if you go too far, you could just become fully mutated and lose your mind or something like that and become a monster.
Oh, you can get like telepathy in here.
But yeah, you can get cool little mutations that would actually help
A
you
shrunken
for a while.
hippocampus.
But I'm pretty sure there's a bad thing about getting mutations eventually.
Probably.
Too many and you lose your sanity or something like that. But I thought that's kind of a cool thing too. So this went from a game that I saw and was like, this looks kind of interesting and it's new, to
Is there another pile of cards we're missing? No? Okay.
No, there is a lot, so thanks for asking.
There are.
I think we got them all.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games that you are going to figure out how to put back in.
Yeah. At least, and this is another thing that makes me happy, is at least they're making trays that fit the game well. Like we've talked about in the past. Now, still people aren't always putting the plastic cover over the trays, which is what I love, because then the stuff doesn't fall everywhere when you put it on its side. But at least we have trays.
Baby steps.
We'll get there. And then, some bags. I'm not really sure what those are for either.
Yeah,
but they have a purpose.
There's a lot going on in here.
Seriously. I think these fit right there.
Probably.
It's always fun. It's always a game, like a
top.
mini game, just trying to figure out how to put it back.
That is it's one of the reasons I'm a huge fan of the Broken Token and the
they, like, label
organizers.
stuff?
Well, they label stuff, but they also a lot of those are designed to allow you to pack up and then take back out to deploy to play really fast, which I really like a lot. Here, let's put these in here. Put this on top.
You ever bought like a Kickstarter game, like a Coal Mini or Not or something, and they have 12,000 miniatures, and they all have their own spot where they fit exactly.
Yep.
And you're like, this is awesome. And then you play the game, and then you go to put it away, and you're like, oh my god,
What goes where?
where did these go?
All right.
That is fun. My turn to pick?
So, I believe it is your turn to pick, and then we will have another poll.
Yeah.
I think mobile updated to let me see the poll this time, too.
Ooh.
So maybe I can vote and sway
We're doing pretty
things.
good. We only have 3 games left. So
what are those games, so people know what they can vote for?
we have Carrossel, Airship City, and Trial by Trolley.
What about Living Planet?
And we have Living Planet.
Four games.
We're at the halfway mark. Here, we're going to do Living Planet.
All right.
Because I've played this and I know what's going on.
So that means that Trial by Trolley, Airship City, and Carrousel are up for debate. You just sniff your box? Are you getting high off your box?
Can't answer that question.
Wow. You plead the fifth?
Oh, man. See, here's a fine example of a game that has trays to put away very well and then falls over.
So you know the trick for the things when you don't have the trays? You know when you open the box, like Posthuman, and the cardboard cutouts go right up to the thing?
Yes.
What you do is if you take the plastic insert out,
And put them under.
punch all of your cardboard out, and put the empty cardboard punch boards in the bottom, a lot of times then the plastic will be at the right height.
I didn't even think about that. Tip of the day, folks.
I don't remember who taught me that.
Well, whatever. I'm sure they're proud if they're watching.
All right, so I am going to vote. Haha.
You gonna vote?
I voted.
Oh my god.
I'm not winning the vote, but so you two at home could vote.
Yes.
All right, so tell us about Living Planet.
All right. Kind of a long game as far as things going on, so I don't want to go too nuts.
Okay.
There is a starting tile.
Okay. I see a lot of cyclones.
We won't worry about that. Yeah, let's try to get one of each disaster out here. There's an earthquake. All right, so you're
Radiation
starting.
mushrooms?
Yeah, perfect. So you're starting on. Everyone gets. Okay, everyone. Let's start with the story. Everyone is part of a mega corporation. Earth, I think, is screwed. We found another planet.
Okay.
Or Earth needs more resources or something like that.
Great. So we found another planet, and we're just going to duplicate all of our mistakes on that planet.
We're not going there to colonize it. We're going there to just mine it for everything it has before it self-destructs and get out of there.
Okay.
That is our goal. We already know this planet is screwed. I mean, there's tornadoes and there's earthquakes and there's geysers with shooting acid or something, and it really sucks. One cool thing, so everyone has their pieces. You have little, I don't know, moon rover things and researcher guys. And each researcher meeple is actually a little bit different. And so I don't know why, but they are.
So
they don't do anything different.
moon rovers,
but they look, yeah, they're actually different meeples.
Yep.
So
slightly different.
Kind of a cool thing. I don't think it really affected the game in any way, but it's just
nice.
kind of
It's a nice touch.
Kind of a touch. So what you do in this game is you can do a couple things. Like you can explore. So say we have all our tiles here.
Do all these tiles start face down or something?
Actually, let's start with this. This makes the most sense.
Okay.
No, you'll actually start with there's actually a starting tile where you can, where all the guys start, and you can spawn more.
Okay. So you basically
start with one guy.
So you're gonna have a stack of tiles
Yes.
that you pull off of.
Yeah, and you're going to start with one guy. Now everyone has this hand of 6 cards that are just a die, number 1 through 6, and at the start of the round, everyone will pick one of their numbers. Now there are dice, but you don't roll dice. But that's where this little board comes in handy. If anyone can see that.
We've been throwing things around a lot this episode.
So let's say I picked 6. Great. And I'm blue.
Okay.
I put my number on 6. Now, one person will be the leader each turn.
Okay.
And say we got 4 people playing. So everyone picks their number and reveals at the same time. And then the leader will take them and put them in the order he wants people to take their turns. So say this is just what came up. Boom. All right. So blue player gets to go first. Blue player does their actions. What can they do? The first thing that happens is this moves down to collect resources. So anyone with a building, which you can construct buildings, it's just an action you do, and it just costs money. It costs like 5 gold.
Okay.
Oh, that's a starting building. Look at that.
Well, I mean, it has a 6 on it too. So
Yeah, so 6s would produce.
Okay.
And that's the only thing with 6.
great. So basically, at this phase, any buildings whose number match the die number
Yes.
produce.
And each type of building has a 1 through 5. In the back is the opposite number. So 5 is a 2, a 6 is a 1, 3 is a 4, and so on. So you'll get 2. There's potentially 2 of each number in there. Okay. But once they get used, if I use this as a 5, that 2 is out of the pool. So there's a limited amount.
Okay.
That stuff they've done very well.
And you put these buildings on the board.
Yeah. So I've built this building. It needs to go on a crystal. So I've gotten here. I've explored over here. Let's say I explored, and my number was a 6. I get a look at the top 6 tiles in the deck.
Yep.
Pick one and put it here. See, I chose this one. Boom. And then I move my guy there. And then you get 2 actions. So as my second action, I've chose to spend 5 of my megabucks or megacorp dollars, whatever they're called, and put this crystal factory on the crystal thing.
Okay.
That's going to get me 2 victory points at the end of the game. And every time a 5 is rolled, I get to produce a crystal.
Okay.
Which I think is called vibrium or something. Very close to
Unobtainium?
vibranium. Not quite unobtainium bad, but yes. I'm glad that everyone knows that's ridiculous.
There's a purity in the honesty of that scene.
So good. So that's one way to get victory points. The other thing I think is cool, and how you're manipulating. And also, once you've played this card, it's out.
Okay.
You can only get it back once you've run out of cards, or if you're the leader, this special ability lets you take, if you play the 6 when you're leader, you can take a card and put it back in your deck and swap this one out.
Okay.
So each one has a little thing. the next phase, so we've done that, and then the next phase is take your 2 actions and build, which you already did, and then it goes to the catastrophe phase or something like that. And what's cool about that is on these tiles, there's little numbers. I don't know if you can see them, but that one has a red 3 and a green 4. So if the die matches one of those, anything on that tile suffers from that hazard.
Okay.
So there's actually buildings in there. What will happen is, so if you have a researcher, on anything on the building, when you buy a building, you put a little token on the cost
to indicate that it was yours.
to indicate that it's yours.
Sure.
And then you have to lose one of the tokens. So either you have to wound your guy, and if he's wounded, you have to lose him, or you have to lose the marker, which means you don't own it anymore. And if you want to get it back, you have to pay for it, or someone else can go there and pay for it and now own it. So that's kind of cool. So hazards keep you from just, because you can leave it and still own it.
Sure.
But hazards can make, basically it's damaged and someone else can take it over. So I think that's kind of cool. But
Keeps you from just maintaining a perpetual empire.
there are buildings that, these buildings have protection from a certain type of, so this is protected from geysers. So if you build it, you can build it anywhere. It doesn't matter the symbol. It will, and these buildings affect the stock market, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
Like I said, there's a lot of stuff to go over, so trying. And then these actually protect from a certain kind of disaster. So this protects from tornadoes. So if you're affected by a tornado, it doesn't matter where it is on the board. You just pay 1 energy, assuming you have it, and then it nullifies the effects.
Cool.
But they're worth less points.
So this is like
Be very good.
You're building an engine by building buildings that will
Yes.
generate stuff, protect you from these natural resources
Yes.
that will degrade your empire.
But when we played, it seemed like everyone kind of went for like 2 resources ish. Out of, I think there's 5. Well, 3, because everyone kind of has the mushroom, which is like, I don't know, minicillin or something weird, some word I can't say. Energy, oil, crystals, and stone. So you're trying to kind of get the market on 1 or 2 or 3 of them maybe.
Okay.
And then trade for the other ones. So this is the bread and butter of this game, is the stock market thing, right?
Okay.
And this is the turn tracker. And it goes together like that.
So there are 12
Yay.
turns, basically?
There are exactly 12 turns, unless you play a short version, which is 8 turns. And a turn is, you go through this whole phase with everyone gets to take their turn. And so this game, you're constantly doing stuff. Even if it's not your turn, you can produce goods.
Even if you're not the leader, basically.
Even if you're not the leader, exactly.
Kind of reminds me of like Puerto Rico or something like that.
And being the leader is very smart, because you could go first, and then say there's like 2 3s out there. That's a 4, whatever. There's 2 3s out there. You can build a building, grab one that's a 3, and you know it's going to produce twice this turn.
Yep.
You can also there's a leader ability where you can make 1 resource produce double for this turn.
Sure.
And so you can use that and get, say, hey, I want crystals to produce turn. And then boom, I'm getting tons of crystals.
Sure.
Now, why does that matter? Okay, so I'm not going to pull out the cubes because whatever. They all start on 5. Now, there's an action you can do where you manipulate the board and you draw, where's the cards?
Do you have the cards?
They're right in front of my face.
I was about to say.
Where they belong. They're not shuffled. But anyway, so your number that you put totally matters, because I did 6, so I get to draw 6 cards.
Okay.
If I did 2, I'd only get 2 cards.
Sure.
Unless you have buildings that increase things like that.
Sure.
So say I got 6 cards, right? And then I pick 1. Say I pick this one. I'm like, I want mushroom resource to go up, the value of it to go up 3. So the number on here is the value. They all start at 5.
Yep.
So whether you're buying or selling, you're either buying them for 5 credits or you're selling them for 5 credits.
Okay.
Say I have a bunch of these mushrooms. I have like 5. I go up to I go it up 3, and then I can sell all my mushrooms, or as many as I want, and get a ton of money.
Sure.
Or
But all of you are going to be manipulating the stock market each round?
it's something you do as one of your actions.
Okay.
So only I get to manipulate that.
Got it.
Say I wanted to buy them, so I used one that subtracted it by 2 or 3, and then I bought them for cheaper. So it's a total buy low, sell high thing. Now, what I also think is cool is, say I did that on my turn, and then I got more mushrooms, and then someone else made it go past 10, then it crashes.
Okay.
So say it was on 8, someone played a 3, it would go 9, 10, and then it would go back to 1.
Got it.
Anyone who has that resource is forced to sell it right then and there.
Oh, wow.
And they only get what it's worth now.
Wow.
So if I had 5 of those and I was like, sweet, I'm gonna get it to 10.
Sure.
I'm gonna be awesome. They crash the market. Instead of getting 50 money now, I get 5.
Okay, cool.
So you can really,
so-
spite level, massive in this game.
the back of this little, because these are the character shields basically. The back of this makes it pretty clear that this is a resource management game.
Yeah.
Where it is get resource to do thing to get buildings, to get resource to do thing to get building.
Yeah, and it's very clear because it tells you how many stars or points. It tells you how many points there are.
Yep.
Like I said, the only thing is these could be bigger.
Sure.
I also knocked mine over, I think, 17 times during the game doing this. I was like, you can see everything. So that was fun. But it shows you your 6 actions. It shows you have to do 2. It shows these are the points these buildings are worth. This is what they generate.
It's a good reference.
Stuff like that. It's a great reference. I love it. So the most important things to win this game are buildings and money, because every 5 money you have at the end is worth a point.
Great. So this game, just to summarize, explore tiles.
Yes.
Build buildings. Harvest resources. Choose the die that you want to activate the buildings that you want to activate. Get resources to make money, to get more buildings, to get points, to get. It's an engine builder of tile exploration, action selection, resource management.
Now, the one thing you might say, okay, well, why wouldn't you just pick the 5 and the 6 every turn? So, like I said before, once you've used it, it's gone until they've all been used.
You need to have some sort of balance of portfolio.
But the 1, if you do the 1, every action you do is only going to be 1. If you want to move your Land Rover, which is based on how much you rolled, you can only move 1 instead of up to 6.
Sure.
If you go to the stock market, you only get 1 card. So that all stinks. What is awesome about the 1 is if you're the leader and you play that 1, you can change the die when it goes to catastrophe on anyone's turn.
Yep.
So you can say someone's on that you want to get messed up is on, blue 2. I can change that, the blue guy's turn, I can change that to a 2 when it gets there and make that guy deal with a disaster. Also, there are more 1s on the tiles than there are 5s. So there's only 1 5 on one tile of each of the 4 colors, where there's like 4 or 5 1s of each color.
Sure.
So you're going to see that
lower ones are more likely
if you play a 1,
so you can mess your opponents up.
Exactly.
Cool.
You also have to pay attention to what you're doing and not mess yourself up. I did see people do that a couple times, and I laughed at them.
I bet.
It was
reasonably high spite, because you can just
Like
call
good.
down
It's
a tornado on your enemies.
Yeah.
But what
if they're not
other
prepared for
games would you compare this to?
That's a tough one. Did I write anything down? I don't know. I don't think I got anything that I thought was
Nothing that you think is like a
similar
real
to it?
direct kind of parallel? So
it
it's
has
fairly
the
distinct
idea,
and unique.
The exploration idea is pretty similar. Like, I'd say there's a lot of games in there, a lot of components or mechanics that are similar, but it just does them differently.
Sure.
And I really enjoyed this game. Honestly, I thought it could be. At first look, I was like, "Yeah, it looks cool. We'll give it a try." And then I played it, and I was like, "This is actually a really well-designed game."
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting pieces. It seems
the
like they'd
art.
be
Yeah.
neat to see how they combine.
I like how everything works together. And now that I understand it more and play it again, I think I could.
So definitely one to like play once. Don't worry about it. Play again to get it.
The only bad thing about this game, and it was a French game. It actually came with French rules too, which I just threw in the trash. Wow. I don't speak French.
Wow. Wow. Everybody in Quebec is just like.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I should dig them out. They're in the recycling bin. Excuse me.
Wow.
The rules are written. It's like a direct translation.
Okay.
So you have to read like the whole rule and comprehend it, because there may be this long sentence that explains something, and then on the second half of the sentence, it tells you what it's talking about.
So
Instead of the reverse.
maybe watch like a YouTube tutorial.
Probably.
Okay. So who would you recommend this for? Sounds like people who want a pretty, not necessarily super heavy, but definitely
I'd put it in the middle.
So a midweight Euro
Like
game.
2-5-3.
What Terraforming Mars kind of reminds me a little bit of the resource management.
Yeah.
A little bit. How would you compare it to that? Because that one's been very popular lately.
I know, that game is just on fire. Similar ideas, but definitely way different.
Well, but like in just level of complexity, because like the mechanics here are way different than that. But
I'd say I would say it's a little easier than that.
Okay.
If the rules were a little crisper, then it would have been easier to learn. So I thought it was it was easier for me to learn Terraforming Mars because I thought it has better rules, but I think the gameplay is much easier than Terraforming Mars once I understood it.
Okay.
For me, it was understanding the timing.
So it's a little bit of a barrier of learning.
Just because you have to understand how
Okay.
things interact together, how the reactions work with them.
But once you get them, then it's
and
pretty
that was my
straightforward.
experience.
Okay.
Everyone may not have that experience, but for
Great.
me, reading is not my strength. No.
All right.
Okay, I can read.
Well, that's why we play games with friends.
Yeah.
So people who like to read can read the rules and teach us.
I also play a lot of games with people who are bad at teaching games, but I won't mention any names.
Wow. So it looks like the vote
I don't think they're all.
the vote is tied between Airship City and Trial by Trolley. Which you want to do first?
Well, let's do Trial by Trolley because look, it's fun. We're winding down. We're actually going to just play this game.
Okay.
We're going to play one round.
Great.
Because that's how easy it is.
Okay.
I don't know.
That is a challenge.
I don't know how many games have a weight on Board Game Geek that are actually really fun.
All right.
This one is
Which cards do you need?
ridiculous. I need all of them, but I don't need all of them.
Okay.
What we're going to do, here, I'll just take this.
Great.
You're going to be the conductor.
Okay, I'm the conductor.
Turn, one person's the conductor.
Got a hat.
Everyone else splits up into teams equal, and they're the other people.
Okay.
Now,
the red team and the blue team.
super fun. Every team, I'm just going to play both the teams, okay?
Okay, great.
So both teams get 3 of these
I feel like you're going to win no matter what
innocent
happens.
cards. No, well, maybe. Yeah, that's true. And then this board, which needs some ironing.
Sure.
I actually played this game in prototype phase. It was awesome, and they just had like a drawn piece of paper.
Sure.
So we flip out randomly 1 innocent card to go on the track.
Okay.
Now, as a conductor, you're going to have to eventually say your trolley is here. It's stopped.
Okay.
And you have to pick which track it's going to go
Yeah.
on.
So
Which side are you going to murder?
Well, so here's the thing. It's not stopped. Remember? There's the whole point of the Trolley problem is that it's on its way, and I have the switch to decide which track I want to send it to.
decide before.
So I have to decide:
That's
do I want to kill a promising young scientist or my hometown sports team?
Yeah. So now that's like, okay, sounds easy, right?
Great.
There's a lot more going on.
Okay.
So now each team is going to get 3 more innocent cards.
Okay.
3 guilty cards.
Okay.
And then modifier cards.
Okay.
In standard rules.
Great.
So you might say, well, that's not how we play it. You can play however you want, to be
So
honest.
tournament legal rules. Got it.
So check this out. So this team says, okay, we don't want our track to get run over.
Yep.
So we need to make it the worst. So let's put.
And to be clear, I predict that in the end, I'm just going to decide which one I want to do,
100%.
and whoever's team I pick,
They
gets
all
the
get
point.
a death token.
Great.
And you don't want death tokens.
Okay.
So let's put the Dalai Lama on that.
Okay. So
track.
now it's a promising young scientist and the Dalai Lama,
Yeah.
or a
People
hometown
that are
sports
gonna
team.
do stuff.
Great.
Hometown sports team, who cares, right? But what if I put your entire family on that track?
Okay. Great.
Now that might even things up.
Sure. Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if you like your family, but we'll see. Now, this is where it gets fun.
Okay.
The red cards, the bad cards, the guilty ones, you get to play on the opponent's track.
Okay.
So this team is like, let's see.
Yeah, just deal one out.
Let's just deal one out. Okay, so this team's like, all right, we're putting this small child who will one day accidentally murder your best friend.
Okay.
Or a KKK recruitment center. So we've played that on opposite teams.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So now that's making that track
Great.
look
Great.
spicier. And then
Okay.
you get to do these modifiers. Where
Great.
you get to pick one. Super easy to do. You can play them on your track or your opponent's track.
Okay. Such as.
Let's say that the Dalai Lama is just getting over a terrible divorce.
Okay.
So that just makes it even worse for him.
Yep.
Or let's say that's messed up.
Yeah. Just do.
All right. Let's say that this football guy is cheating on their significant other.
Okay.
This exact one.
Great.
So it makes it worse.
Great.
Now
So
it's up to you.
yeah. So I now have to choose as the conductor, the
You
judge.
are the conductor.
I'm choosing. Do I want this train to run over these 3 cards or these 3 cards
Correct.
as modified by these? And you don't want your train track to be run over.
Correct.
Great. So should I have the train run over a promising young scientist, the Dalai Lama who is just getting over a terrible divorce,
Yes.
and a small child who will one day accidentally murder my best friend, or my hometown sports team, four people, one of whom is cheating on their significant other,
Yes.
my entire family, and a KKK recruitment center?
That is correct.
Okay.
So if you don't run over your entire family, great, they've lived. But the KKK recruitment center does survive.
I'm going to take the safe play here. There are more people on this track than that.
Okay.
I'm going to save this track.
Okay.
So this track
So
is going
they
to be run
die.
over. Yep.
Everyone-
the Dalai Lama, a small child,
Yeah.
and promising young scientists.
Everyone on this team then gets a death token. In standard rules, you play so that everyone playing, so you have 7 people. I think you actually want an odd number because so one person can be the conductor, and then you can have even teams.
Yep.
But everyone should get a chance being the conductor, and then at the end of the game, whoever has the least death tokens is the winner.
Okay.
Super simple game, great for parties. It's not as lewd as like Joking Hazard and Cards Against Humanity.
Okay.
It does have some interesting decisions to make.
Yep.
But there's not a bunch of like phallic humor and stuff like that, from what I've seen.
I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
It can be played. It suggests 14 plus, but you're the
Okay.
parent. You figure it out. I'm not. I'm not gonna tell you no.
It's your kids. You figure it out.
I've played it. I had a blast playing it,
Great.
and I highly recommend it.
So, you would recommend this
will
for fans
sell.
of extremely deep, hard Euro
Yeah.
games?
If you're into like hilarious murder,
Okay.
that's one of them. If you like Cyanide and Happiness, if you watch the comic, if you play Joking Hazard,
Yep, the same artists.
you just like silly, fun games.
Great.
Not a lot of thinking. Yeah.
Okay. I think that leaves us with Airship City and Carousel. And
Did they
Airship
pick-
City
well,
was
they got voted.
the next voted one.
Let's
so
do
let's
it.
do that.
This game probably
So this is the Bioshock board game. is
Gave
what
me
you're
the
telling me, right?
most of a
Bioshock
headache.
2, the board game? No, Bioshock Infinite, the board game.
There you go. Cool thing about this game was actually designed in Japan in 2018, and then Cool Mini or Not brought it to the States, and it just released here. So
There's lots of cardboard.
there is a lot of cardboard. So if you like punching out cardboard, that in
So
alone
this
a
was
game.
published by Cool Mini or Not?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
They
that
brought it to the States.
There's no. I mean, this seems the graphic design and the design seems very understated.
No, I don't think they really did anything other than bring it to the States. Like
No.
I don't think they tried to. They wanted to keep it.
It's just
here.
interesting. It seems like they're branching out from their usual kind of style.
They are. It was like when they make their games, it's massive minis and heavy, and then they bring some games. So, kind of cool thing. You have these floating places that provide resources, right? And
Yep.
you'll actually put the whole board out. We'll just put a few.
Sure.
And you're gonna have airships. Everyone has their own board. I believe this is your track, and these all.
So
mean
these are our
different
player
things.
boards,
There's
yep.
like 2,000 boards to put out. There's an airship bay where you can buy airships, and people can actually donate to them to make things happen. Basically, this game is like the game is not super hard, but there's a bazillion things you can do.
Okay.
And
I'm
so-
noticing a theme in a lot of games that you brought, which is there are a bazillion things to
That's
do
just
and a
what's
lot of
come out.
cardboard.
That's what's come out. I know. I was going through this. I was like, man, there's a lot of cards and cardboard in these games. So lots to do.
Okay.
Then you have another track that does some stuff. I can't even remember right now. And then these are just tokens and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
see here, watch. So
So-
I'm going to show you the whole trick thing. So you
Oh,
take
yeah,
those
do it.
cardboard things. So you see here how like
Yeah.
it's not high enough.
Yeah.
You take this out, right? And then you would punch the cardboard out of here,
Sure.
but then you put it back in, and you put this on top,
Magic.
and now
It's a
it
lot.
should be like just enough to fit like these boards here. See?
And then you don't have to deal with it.
Yep.
It's done. Well, from now on, I'm going to do that. If anything,
It
I've
mostly
learned
works.
something.
Mostly works.
Mostly works. Because
Mostly.
especially at a board game cafe, and you put your games like this, you get a lot of games that fall apart. So
Yep.
that's good. That's good stuff. But anyway, let's just go over a few things you can do in this game. I think if you're interested in it,
Again, it has
You
a
know.
very like
Come play it.
clean and crisp
I'll have it for demo.
graphic design that reminds me of a lot of the other games that have been coming out of Japan lately.
So really easy to read. You move your airship one space. You go here. You get the reward. Right.
Okay.
Super easy. There is a way where you can upgrade them and you flip them over, and things change.
Oh, your airship is one of these, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Here. Okay.
There's a neat mechanic where you'll acquire gears, and gears is a resource. Thing you can do with gears is you spend one, and you actually get a change. So you only move so far on your turn, and you only get I think 20 turns total
Okay.
over 5 rounds. So you can actually move a spot and move all the airships down that way, the little floating things, and then you put the one on the end over here. So if I can't get to this shipyard, if I moved it here, leave them here, now I can get there. So I had to use a resource to get it. It also could screw up someone else's turn, and they're like, dang it, now I can't reach that shipyard.
Sure.
And granted, this board's going to be, I think, 4x4, so it's going to be a lot bigger than that.
Sure.
So that's one way. You're traveling around, you're getting resources, and then you're using those resources on your tracks to like do things, donate to these other airships. You can buy more airships. Certain airships give you different bonuses. Like there's metal, wooden, and sightseeing, so they have different objectives, the things that they interact with the board. There are contracts, which are these little guys here. You'll have these contracts out, right? And it's something like, oh, get 4 wood, turn in, get a victory point, and a gold. Sounds awesome. However, if you pick this contract and you don't fulfill it in time, then you actually will lose victory points.
Okay. So it's kind of like Ticket to Ride either.
Yeah, you can't just grab them and be like, I'm going to grab all these. You have to have a plan in place to get it. Now, these are the level 1. You can get to level 3 where now you need 16 wood, and yeah. So as things progress, each stage, I believe, is 4 turns or something like that, and then you go to the next stage and things change.
Sure.
That's the game in a nutshell. There's not a ton, like I said.
So
there's not
this is a move
There's
around the board, collect resources, turn them in. So it's another resource management game, but
Yeah.
with like a very kind of cute, almost like a very flat storybooky kind of
very
art style.
tight art style.
And then that really like, there's I think if you look here, there's kind of a muted color, very crisp graphic design that really reminds me of a lot of the games that have been coming out of Japan, all the Oink games, stuff like that.
Right. And then you have your, this track is like your airship costs and stuff. So as you're doing things that can lower or increase the cost of airships, which I think is pretty cool. But that's for everybody, so it's not just yours. So it does have that community. We're kind of working together, but we're in no way.
Well, I mean, it sounds like
only
your actions influence the other players, but you're not necessarily working together.
You're not working together.
Okay. But it also doesn't seem like this is not a high spike game. It looks like where I can't crash my airship into you or anything like that.
No, and the rules are actually pretty light. Like I said, it's not. There's not a ton going on, but there's a lot of.
It's not complicated. There's just lots of it.
So you just have to understand that. So it might take a little bit to learn, and then once you get it, it's not going to be a super long game, an hour.
So if Posthuman and Living Planet, like these are all games that have lots going on. They have lots of resource trading back and forth, especially Living Planet and Airship City.
Yeah.
Is the main difference between these, do you think, kind of mostly the theme, and you go with the one that appeals to you, or is there a fundamental difference, you think?
I kind of feel like that's how board games are today, where every game has some mechanics that relate to another game.
Sure.
Whether it's worker placement, cart, whatever it is. So you got to just pick, I like sci-fi, I'm going here. I like post-apocalyptic, I'm going here. I like cute airships, I'm going here. Okay. So, if you're a little older, maybe you're like me, you probably like the post-apocalypse.
If you want minis, go for that.
If you want minis, I love minis. So if a game has minis, I'm instantly in. Even though they literally do nothing except look awesome, I love them.
Great.
And I'll paint them one day.
So this, again, I really love the way this looks.
The design is
the box
great.
is very
quality
nice.
of the box is top notch.
And it's really great to see Simon kind of put down some other stuff too.
Yeah, they're actually starting to branch out and be more publishy, which I think is a pretty cool thing to do.
All right, I think we have one game left.
One more. So
you want to put that back and grab
even
Carousel?
If nobody wants to see it, we're gonna do it anyway.
No. They wanted to save it for the end.
Look, if you are,
they wanted to eat their veggies first before they got to dessert.
Oh, fair.
Show me the veg.
This game is actually a game we imported for PAX Unplugged from Essen.
Okay.
From Germany. Well, that's where we found out about it. I'm not sure exactly where.
So you throw out that game's French instructions, but not this game's?
No.
Wow. We see where your priorities are.
Well, this is my copy, so.
I'm gonna. So you're allowed to throw it out.
I'll bring it to the store though. I still have the instructions. I just didn't bring them with. This game is the lightest game I brought, other than Trial by Trolley, but you can play this with your family or friends or whatever.
Can you play it on a carousel?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Unless you, man, that'd be really hard to do. And if, I would probably already throw up on a carousel.
Great.
I would definitely throw up playing this game.
Okay.
Because I can't motion sickness.
Great. That is your ring endorsement. You would throw up playing this game.
Yeah. I don't know how much time we have left. If we have a chance to set up the board a little bit.
I'd probably not. But I think you can. Why don't you just kind of talk through the game?
Show it. Okay. Sure. So you can fill around with that. The board actually sits. It's a board on a board, and that actually turns into like a Lazy Susan. It has a 3-player side and a 4-player side, and so the board will actually rotate. So on your turn, if you show them that, there are numbers on there, which is where specific. It'll tell you basically where to place certain tiles and stuff like that.
Okay.
And everyone will have a set of cards or whatever that. Sorry, not cards. Where's those? There's little stands, and there's little guys that go on the stands. Basically, what you're trying to do is you are a ticket seller for this carousel.
Yep.
And you want to sell as many tickets to these little kids as you can.
Sounds about right.
And take all their money, basically.
Sounds like something I would do.
So you're trying to, again, make these consecutive patterns that it shows on these cards. They have to be in order. So this is a 1 blue, or 1 red and 1 blue, or something like that.
Okay.
And then you'll put your guys out there. You put your tiles out on the board, which are these. They're all colored in the corner, so you know whose tiles they are.
Okay.
Because when those tiles are used, those people score. So what's interesting is you may build here on your spot, and then the round ends, and the board rotates.
Yep.
And now you're building here. And every turn, like a carousel, it's rotating.
Trying to get that.
I know that thing's a little wonky. I couldn't get it myself, so
All right. I'll figure it out.
I don't know if I was doing it right or wrong. But like I said, every turn this thing's going to rotate, and you're still trying to do the same thing.
Okay. So I think I figured it out.
Okay.
So we get it in there, and that's what this little thing here is for. So you can just put your finger in and spin it. Neat.
Yeah, like a record.
Yeah.
So, you're trying to set up for future turns. So you might build something here, and then someone gets rewards off it, but things don't change. You'll get it when it comes around.
Sure.
To you, but things can be scored. Things get moved around.
So you're laying out the kinds of animals the kids would ride on.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it has your color. So then from what I understand, when your tiles get used for scoring, you also get points or something like that. And then the cards determine what you need. I believe is how it works. As easy as this game is,
you're trying to like lay out like a pattern,
it mildly
and then it's
confused
scored every so often.
like I don't know if these are useful or not. I think they're just screens. There's also, that's what I was trying to find. There's these little circular markers that I didn't pull out that go on the stands, and that represents the actual ride that the kids are on. So, and there's not a lot going on as far as mechanics. It's kind of just a lighter, fun little game with this cool mechanic.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of what was the fireworks game, or the game about the tile that has the 4 sides. You're building up a pattern. Your opponent gets to use one side. Lanterns.
I was going to say lanterns, but then I was like, oh, maybe not.
Yeah, like this
lanterns.
board vaguely reminds me of lanterns, especially at the part where stuff that you're setting up, someone else might score off of.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. But you are limited. It shows you where you're limited to put your stuff for that turn, which I think is pretty cool.
Sure.
And it also, the numbers determine where you have to put certain things sometimes. So it's going to be a lighter game, definitely played with families and stuff like that. I mean, you could play with your family, I should say, but it's kid-friendly. And it has a rule book in
Kid-friendly, mother-approved.
a lot of the major languages, so that's kind of cool. That's something I like about these games that are coming from Europe, is that they do this where they'll have one rule book with all languages, or they'll have separate ones, and they don't make a different version for, like, let's make the German version and the English version. Let's just make one version.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times the components don't need to change.
But you don't see that in America. I think that I've never opened a game made in America and be like, why is there 4 instruction books in here?
Well, that's because we have one enormous country that spans pretty much the whole continent, so you don't need to worry about, sorting it for other stuff nearby.
Exactly. So I do think it's pretty cool.
Cool.
This one,
So this is not super complex. You think it's good for families?
there's one.
You think it's good for families?
It's got good table presence too. It looks pretty on your table.
What are there any other games that you would kind of compare this to? I mean, we talked a little bit about lanterns, but I feel that's a little bit of a stretch. Okay. So you just brought a collection of completely unique games this week. Okay.
Yeah, brand new.
That spinning mechanic is certainly new.
I've just never seen it. I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know how, other than, if you want this game, I sell it. I'm sure you can find it on the internet, but I don't know how readily available it is. Because, like I said, we had to import it to get it. But, yeah.
Great. All right.
That's Carousel.
Well, you can put that over there.
I will.
All right. Well, thank you for bringing out the games. I think that was all of them.
We did it.
We did it. Once again, we have covered some of the notable releases from the week. So I wanted to thank you again for not only coming out and bringing the games, but taking the time to write copious notes and research the games so that you could talk a little bit more about how they play.
Yeah.
We always appreciate that.
Yeah, I try to do the best. It's hard to read the notes as I go, but
It is, but sometimes like science shows that it's the writing of the note that a lot of times that matters.
I think so. It helps me because I can't read what I wrote anyway.
Anything else you want to say about Zulus or anything like that?
No, just to recap, if you missed the start of the show, please come to Zulu's. We're in downtown Bothell on Main Street. We are currently actually doing our phase 3 of our construction, so the whole back of our store is like dirt and dug up.
And if people haven't been to Zulu's, in like a year or a couple months, go because you recently completed one phase of your construction.
Yeah, the whole front is completely different looking. If you haven't been in like 2 years, the front looks completely different. Great like stone wall. We have a patio. It's a little cold, but people are still playing out there because gamers are hardcore.
They
I'll
are.
tell you that. Gamers would play anywhere, and we're adding more space because honestly, people are just showing up, and it's like, where do we put these people? So we're building and extending as fast as we can. We always have new things, new menus coming. We have a survey you can take if you're like, I want this on the menu, I like this, I don't like that. We're just trying to do what our community wants and what the people want, and be the best place we can be.
Awesome.
So,
and most of these games are in your library.
I will have, I believe, all these games on demo. Some of these games I do not carry, and whether I carry them or not, I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Might depend on how people demo them.
Yeah, exactly. I just got them. Like, I'm probably going to pick up that Masters of Renaissance game. I think it's actually pretty great.
Great.
So
awesome.
We'll see.
Well, thank you again.
Yeah, of course, man.
Thank you to everybody for sticking around and joining us, sticking around after Table Takes. Don't forget that we have a new show this evening, Game Night. I'm going to be running the Alien RPG for a bunch of people and see how quickly we can murder them all.
Awesome.
So that is exciting and fresh. Today also we released another episode of the Fireside Podcast, the conversation we had with Ryan Dancy, I believe, this past Wednesday about the D20 license and 3rd edition of D&D. A lot of really interesting business discussions in that. So if you missed that episode and you're intrigued by it, it's on YouTube.
Ryan Dancy from AEG? Oh, yeah, I know him.
Yep, so it's on YouTube. It's now on the podcast. So the new episode each week from Fireside goes up on the podcast at 10 a.m. on Friday. The Monday at 10 a.m. we release an old episode from the season that covered Magic. So you can kind of get 2 a week, alternating between Magic and D&D. Nice. And then the rest of the week we have Monday night at 6 p.m. we have board games with the Brothers Murph. And then Wednesday 9 a.m. the Brothers Murph are back to paint minis. And then 4 p.m. is Fireside each week. 6:30 p.m. is Westgate Irregulars, which is a group of authors who play D&D together. And then on Friday, you come back for Table Takes at 11 a.m., New Release Rundown 12:30ish, and then Game Night at 6 p.m. So thank you for everyone for sticking around. Remember to follow us, subscribe if you want, maybe turn on notifications, check stuff on YouTube if you missed it, and we will see you around. Thanks a lot, everybody.